Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Jai Shri Radha, Jai Shri Krishna, Shri Radha Krishna Namah, Shri Radha Krishna Namah. Chandramukhi Chanchal Chit Chori, Sughar Savara Surat Bhore, Sham Sham एक सी जोड़ी, श्री राधा कृष्ण नमः. ओम जय श्री राधा राधा राधा, जय श्री कृष्ण श्री राधा कृष्ण नमः. पंचरंग चूनर के सर प्यारे, पत पीतांबर कामर कारे, एक रूप अनुपम छवि प्यारी, श्री राधा कृष्णाय नमः. ओम जय श्री राधा राधा राधा, जय श्री कृष्ण कृष्ण कृष्ण, श्री राधा कृष्णाय नमः. चंद्र चंद्रिका चम चम चमके, मोर मुकुट सिर दम 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 के, युगल प्रेम रस छम 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 के, श्री राधा कृष्णाय नमः. ओम जय श्री राधा राधा राधा, जय श्री कृष्ण कृष्ण कृष्ण, श्री राधा कृष्णाय नमः. कस्तूरी कुमकुम जुत बिंदा, चंदन चारु तिलक ब्रज चंदा, सरदलाल लीला सुनंदा, श्री राधा कृष्णाय नमः. ओम जय श्री राधा राधा राधा, जय श्री कृष्ण कृष्ण कृष्ण, श्री राधा कृष्णाय नमः. श्री राधा कृष्णाय नमः. श्री राधा कृष्णाय नमः. Hello everybody, humble greetings, humble pranams and special welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for joining with me today in day number 43, session 43 in our 100-day Srimad Bhagavad Gita challenge, where the aim, as we know, is to recite the 700 shlokas of Srimad Bhagavad Gita over the span of 100 days, 7 shlokas each day. Today, prior to commencing with our verses, we join in these meditative stanzas, the Dhyana shlokas dedicated to Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Hari Om. Harihi Om. Harihi Om. Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatye Namaha. Om Shri Guru Charan Kamalabhyo Namaha. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrita Varshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambattvamanusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshinim Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullarvindayatra Patra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purna Prajvalito Jnanamaya Pradeepaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vaitraika Panaye Jnana Mudraya Krishnaya Gītāmrita Duhe Namah. Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vaitraika Pane Jnana Mudraya Krishnaya Gītāmrita Duhe Namah. Sarvopanishido Gavo Dugdha Gopal Nandana Partho Vatsaha Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gītāmritam Mahat Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanur Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagat Gurum. Bhishma Drona Tata Jayadratha Jala Gandhara Nilotpala Shalya Grahavati Kripena Vahanina Karnena Vilakula Ashvathama Vikarna Ghora Makara Duryodhana Vartini Sutirna Khalu Pandavairana Nadi Kaivartaka Keshavam Parasharavacha Sarojam Amalam Geetartha Gandhot Katham Nanakyanaka Kesharam Harikatha Sambodhana Bodhatam Loke Sajjana Shatpadaira Haraha Pepiyamanam Muda Bhuyat Bharata Pankajam Kalimal Pradham Shinaha Shreyase Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Paramanandamadhavam Yam Brahma Varuninda Rudra Maruta Stunavanti Divyaistavir Vedai Sang Padakramopanishadair Garyantyam Samaga Dhyanavasthita Targatena Manasa Pashyanti Yogino Yasyantam Navidu Sura Surgana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. Gita Mata Ki Jai. Victory to Mother Bhagavad Gita. We join in offering this beautiful hymn as we offer salutation to Mother Gita. Namo Narayanaya. जय भगवद गीते माते, जय भगवद गीते माते, जय जय गीते जय व्यास जाते, जय जय गीते जय व्यास जाते, जय जय इह पर, जय जय इह पर कल्याण दाते, कल्याण दाते, जय भगवद गीते माते। तत्व ज्ञाने शांति निधाने, शांति निधाने, भव भय हारिणी, सर्वगुण गणे, सर्वगुण गणे, जय भगवद गीते माते। मुक्तिदायिनी शक्तिकारिणी, शक्तिकारिणी, भक्ति प्रचोदिनी, जननी 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 जननी, जय भगवद गीते माते। जीवार्जुन मोह खिल विषहारिणी, खिल विषहारिणी, देवकी तनय श्री कृष्ण चिंतामणि, कृष्ण चिंतामणि, जय भगवद गीते माते। आशा मोहा स्वार्थ संहारिणी, स्वार्थ संहारिणी, दास के शवनुत हृदय विहारिणी, हृदय विहारिणी, जय भगवद गीते माते। जय जय गीते जय व्यास जाते, जय जय गीते जय व्यास जाते, जय जय इह पर, जय जय इह पर कल्याण दाते, कल्याण दाते, जय भगवद गीते, भगवद गीते, भगवद गीते, गीते माते, गीते माते, हरि गीता माता की जय। Victory to Mother Bhagavad Gita. In our previous session, dear friends, we stopped off at verse number 17 of chapter 7 of Srimad Bhagvad Gita, and today we continue with our discussion from shlok or verse number 18 of chapter 7 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Shri Krishna continues to give the divine counsel to Arjuna and by extension all of humanity. श्री परमात्मने नमः। श्री परमात्मने नमः। उदाराः सर्व एवैते ज्ञानी त्वात्मैव मे मतम् आस्थितः स हि युक्तात्मा मामेवानुत्तमां गतिम्। Udaraha sarva evaite jnani tvatmaiva me matam asthitah sahi yuktatma mamevannuttamam gatim. Indeed, all these are noble, but the man of wisdom is my very self. Such is my view. For such a devotee who has his mind and intellect merged in me, he is firmly established in me alone as the highest goal. With the large-heartedness of a mastermind, here Sri Krishna declares that all creatures living the life of intelligent, seeking and industrious efforts, they are blessed, inasmuch as they all are in their own way approaching the same fountain of that infinite for tapping out their required energies. Although some are approaching the supreme spiritual strength for purposes of reducing distress, fulfilling desires, they all are nonetheless approaching that divine one, that self, and are relatively divine. They are divine and considered even to be more divine than the insentient mineral world, meaning just that bland with no direction. So long as that devotee, although desirous of being relieved of their distress or wanting to acquire some material wealth or whatever category that devotee falls in, so long as they seek that divine or they seek that self, they are considered to be divine themselves, rather than simply going around aimlessly. This is the point that Sri Krishna is making. In comparison to the Jnani, however, that divine one says, the man of knowledge he regards as his own self. For that one of knowledge, really, they are not seeking anything material from that Supreme. That Jnani is one who, courting the truth in a spirit of total identification with it, successfully attains the total transcendence of his individual mind and intellect, whereby the ego rediscovers itself to be nothing other than the Atman, that self. He becomes one with it, and thereafter remains locked in that divine state, in that divine sense of identification with the self. The devotee in full knowledge serves that Supreme with love and devotion. Hence, from that mutual love established between devotee and the divine, that devotee is seen as dear also to that Supreme and never is separated from that Supreme. Means, once as we get into that state of identification, we get into that state of realization of who we truly are, we never fall from that state. We are ever held in that state. As such, Sri Krishna says, firmly established in me alone as the highest goal, and he would consider that devotee as his very self. For in being merged in that state of awareness, they are constantly living in oneness with that Supreme. Hence, he can make that statement that he considered them as his own self. Sri Krishna continues to say, Bahunam janmanam hante jnanavan mam prapadyate Vasudevah sarvam miti sa mahatma sudurlabha. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate Vasudeva sarvam miti sa mahatma sudurlabha. In the very last of all births, the enlightened person worships me by realizing that all this is that Supreme, all this is God. Such a great soul is very rare indeed. We get to that state of awareness where everything we can perceive, we see it as a manifestation of that Supreme. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavanmam prapadyate Vasudevah sarvamiti. Sarvamiti meaning this entire world is pervaded by this one Supreme. Samahatma sudurlabha. And that one is very, very rare indeed. That soul who gets to that state. This living sadhak, or that seeker, this entity while executing devotional service begins to give a practical shape to his learning that the Supreme is the ultimate goal of realization. That is, they get to that state in realizing God is everything. In this stage, even then one is called Jnani. When one gets to that state of studying that scripture, reading, by merely understanding these concepts, one is elevated or considered to be Jnani. All those who study the scriptures and may not live according to the scripture but feeling fulfilled through the mere understanding of the contents, they too are considered. Only a few, however, really get beyond that point of simply reading and understanding but living the scripture. Only a few ever reach that goal of evolution and come to discover that true divine nature which pervades all. In so doing, one understands that the Supreme is in everything. This state of realization is rare, but that sadhaka, that seeker or jnani, in viewing all beings as divine, that seeker is further elevated. We see everything. In Ramayana, there is one popular chaupai which says, Siya Ramai Sab Jagajani Karo Pranam Jodi Jogapani. The very essence of why one of the greetings we say is Namaste. Namaste meaning Namo Aste. I bow to that divinity in you. When we clasp the hands like this and greet anyone, it means the divinity present within myself recognizes the divinity present within the person whom I am greeting, and that salutation is offered. It isn't a situation where one is considered to be superior and one is considered to be inferior. We are all on that same equal plane. But the very system of Sanatana Dharma, the way everything is organized, is so put in place to aid and facilitate that individual getting to such a state of realization. Rare as it may be, it is all guided towards aiding that individual transitioning into this state, seeing that everything is divine. And when we consider this, we see, if the world were to adopt this approach and not treat it blindly as religion in terms of this is a Hindu concept or this is a concept of Satya Sanatana Dharma, but to see it on a universal level, this universal brotherhood, this sense of unity amongst all can ultimately be established. And the sooner we gravitate to that state where we see beyond boundaries of separation relating to geography, relating to religion, relating to color, creed, caste, the quicker we can get to this state. Beholding diversity is born of delusion and ignorance. However, beholding unity is born of enlightenment. Much like Darwin suggested, it takes trillions of years for an organism to evolve from one given form to a higher form of life. So too, it will take a long time to scrape off the ignorance and reach to that perfect realm. Hence, Sri Krishna identifies such a soul who gets to that state as being very rare indeed. Rare as it may be, it isn't impossible, it isn't beyond us. So it isn't for us to be disheartened or discouraged by the mere fact that it is rare. The rarest of gems are the ones that we all seek. The common things, nobody really hankers for them, nobody runs after those. But the gems which are rarest are the ones which are prized and the ones which are cherished most. So similarly, we too should aim to be like that rare gem, that rare soul who ventures into this state of realization. Sri Krishna continues, Kamaistaistair hitagyanaha prapadyante anya devataha tam tam niyam mamasthaya prakritya niyataha swaya. Kamaistaistair hitagyanaha prapadyante anya devataha tam tam niyamamasthaya prakritya niyataha swaya. Those whose wisdom has been carried away by various desires, being prompted by their own nature, worship other deities, adopting rules relating to each. In this very profound verse, Kamaistaistair hritajnanaha prapadyante anya devataha tam tam niyamamasthaya prakritya niyataha swaya. Desire for the sense objects, the world and the objects within this world and the urge for sense gratification, they are the great factors which cloud the discriminative potentialities in the human intellect. It is impossible that an individual is not made conscious of his own self in the light of a powerful and strong discrimination, so long as this discriminative faculty is clear and sharp. We would inevitably get to that state of realization. But when this instrument is dull, is dim, is covered, clouded by these sense matter envelopments, then we can never get to that state of realization. It is like a sensor which is covered by a small speck of dust. That dust, in blocking that sensor, prevents it from performing its duty. Similarly, when this tool of discrimination, this instrument of discrimination is clouded, how then can it function properly? This desire are the springs from which thoughts continuously rise up to flood that mental zone, leading to disturbances in the reflection of the truth in it. The mind becomes disturbed and the discriminative faculty is dulled. Therefore, that individual is unable to distinguish between the real and unreal. In identifying with desire, the individual allows himself to be controlled by an upsurge of thoughts. Thoughts by themselves are inert, but in the individual identifying with the desires, these thoughts prompt actions. The actor in that state is incapable of truly discriminating whether the action can or cannot bring him to satisfaction. Drunk with the idea that he will be at least temporarily appeased, the individual struggles hard to invoke the productive potential of any given field of his activity. Earlier we discussed that this field of activity really is called the Devata, and the deity for whom we perform yajna or sacrifice was none other than the productive potential in any field of activity. Therefore, in light of this, the other gods which really represent the Devatas, they actually represent the various joys contained in the different sensuous fields which we pursue when we are blinded by desire, with the expectation that we may gain a full satisfaction from them. As we established before, Bhagavad Gita is poetry, and in poetry, each word is highly symbolic and has deep meaning. It isn't meant to be taken literally only. So, from this state of the Supreme being priority, or the Supreme should be a priority, we disintegrate to, we see our house as God. Our priorities become different. So where that Supreme is supposed to be established as that dominating one, that one who occupies priority, our priorities change, and instead it is money becomes our God, car becomes our God, land becomes our God, and the entire wisdom is looted away by this desire. So that deluded person strives for happiness, believing that in fulfilling this desire they will attain happiness, and in running hard after these sensual inklings fueled by desire, hoping to gain this satisfaction that is infinite and immortal, while another who is endowed with this discrimination gets to that state in discovering the hollowness and the futility of these sensual pursuits. The latter type, meaning that devotee who really realizes the uselessness of running after these desires and satisfying these desires, he withdraws from these unprofitable deeds with an avidity. He seeks that part of the real. This here is what Sri Krishna says in this verse. He continues, Yo yo hyamyam tanum bhaktaha shraddhaya chitumicchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. Yo yo hyamyam tanum bhaktaha shraddhaya chitumicchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. Whatever celestial form a devotee craving for some worldly object chooses to worship with reverence, I stabilize the faith of that particular devotee in that very form. Where again will you read such a beautiful verse? That Supreme provides ways and means for ordinary people to evolve stage by stage in their paths of devotion. We may not all enjoy the same thing, but the grace of that Supreme is, provided we have that Shraddha, that faith which is mentioned, whatever we seek, that devotee, that bhakta, he fixes the mind of that devotee in that particular state, in that particular form. Here is revealed the magnanimity of Satya Sanatana Dharma, that all-inclusiveness, which is why we recognize all different pathways which are traversed by devotees or by seekers. We recognize the innate divinity of all, so that independent choice of the individual is respected. So howsoever you choose to worship, howsoever you go to that Supreme in Sanatana Dharma, that is encouraged. It isn't about conversion. So this intolerance really is a concept that is unknown in Satya Sanatana Dharma. From another perspective, this verse also means the greater the consistency with which an idea or attachment is maintained by an individual, the greater he becomes fixed in that temperament. The more we think of something, the better we become at it. The more often a thought is entertained, the deeper becomes the thought channel, thus strengthening the very mental impression in that mind. The patterns of thoughts indicate the pattern of desires the individual entertains, and from this the predominating modality can also be detected, that prakriti. We should recall, however, it is for us to separate this prakriti or this modality or this nature from that Supreme. It is this prakriti is tantamount to the superficial activities that happens, all that is superimposed in that fixed immovable background, meaning Purush. As we think, so we become, and the more we become, the more we think in that same pattern. By this it shows Sri Krishna is saying, I make firm and unflinching. We are the products of our own thinking. Yet from another perspective it shows whatever discipline an individual is committed to in applying oneself to that discipline, that Supreme, when we are taught work is worship, if we apply ourselves with the proper mindset, the proper attitude to that field of discipline, then from that discipline itself, that Supreme stabilizes the faith in that field, and from there fulfillment will come. That fulfillment of desire will come, that happiness will come. Sri Krishna continues though to say, Sattaya Shraddhaya Yuktas Tasya Radhanamihate Labhate cha tata kaman mayaiva vihitan hitan. Sattaya Shraddhaya Yuktas Tasya Radhanamihate Labhate cha tata kaman mayaiva vihitan hitan. Endowed with such faith, he worships that particular deity and obtains through him without doubt his desired enjoyments as ordained by myself. Exactly what we said. Faithful activity in any field of action brings about complete success. But the existence of the field, and follow here, the existence of the field, the capacity to act, the fervor of faith that supplies consistency to all efforts, all these are possible only in the medium of the changeless, attributeless, eternal self. It is tantamount to having a football match in a stadium, and as enjoyable as the match is, as gripping as the action is, if we forget that all of this happens on this field, the name of the whatever stadium, and all those who are the important personnel who help facilitate this game, then we would have been confused. It is for us to always remember that all that is happening is being projected, much like the game happens on the field, and that facility, which would have been aided by whatever organization, etc. Similarly, this faithful activity in any field of action which brings about the complete success, all the capacity to act, the existence of the field, all these are possible only in that medium, which is that changeless, attributeless, eternal self. Sri Krishna identifies himself with the spiritual center, and in identifying himself with the spiritual center of the universe, he rightly declares that he alone is the one that supplies an ever-growing faith in all activities, and ultimately, when the laws of actions are fulfilled to the last bit, both in their intensity and application, it is he alone who dispenses the exact result of each action, that system of justice. Again, this shows the magnanimity of Satya Sanatana Dharma. So broad-minded, all-inclusive. It shows that whatever path we pursue, so long as the attitude is correct, the desires are fulfilled. This entire situation unfolds over the all-pervasive one, hence the saying, ordained by me. He continues to say, Sri Krishna says here, in this beautiful verse again, Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavat yalpamedhasam devan deva yajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavat yalpamedhasam devan deva yajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. He says, the fruit gained by these people of small understanding, however, is perishable. The worshippers of the gods attain the gods, whereas my devotees, howsoever they worship me, eventually come to me and me alone. And this verse brings about so much scope for discussion. It can sometimes get controversial, but follow here. Men of small understanding are they who are unable to distinguish between the fleeting happiness and the lasting happiness. This earthly impermanent happiness and attainments which we treat as priority. The more we become entangled in this material world, is the more we move away from that supreme, the more we move away from that sense of priority in the awareness we should establish in that supreme, and with the shifting of priorities, our new priorities are then termed little gods. Hence Sri Krishna uses the term gods. So in getting to this state of establishing a new priority, house as a priority, land as a priority, money as a priority, these then are termed as our new earthly gods, which shouldn't be. Whereas the permanent spiritual attainments and bliss which ever belong to this Ishvara, the ignorant, they seek this fleeting happiness, this impermanent happiness. They treat house, land, money, these material achievements as priority and so as God, while the wise would seek that permanent happiness, that spiritual attainment. So those who are invoking a desired profit potential in any given field of activity can, even when completely successful, gain only that profit. Finite actions in finite fields with finite instruments can only produce finite fruits. So the joy which we would enjoy from an action quickly ends, and particularly if it is something that we think would bring us happiness, inevitably it brings about dissatisfaction, it brings about misery. Such is the nature of these things. In contrast, those who seek that supreme come to him. Sri Krishna again utilizes this tool of contrast in teaching Arjuna through positive reinforcement as well as negative reinforcement, showing what to do and what not to do. If the same effort is applied in constructive living, the individual can come to identify his true identity From the deluded ego, though, the individual identifies with these matter envelopments and revels in a world of endless objects known as this Jagat. The discriminative and careful seekers, however, they understand the uselessness of these finite pleasures and so detach themselves from the egocentric lives, and through this process of meditation, which has been discussed in great detail in our discussion on chapter 6 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, they rediscover their real nature. Sri Krishna here identifies himself with the principle of consciousness, which is the core of this pluralistic dream of the mind and intellect equipment, and declares that seekers of the self discover themselves. So again, from yet another perspective, if one chooses to treat material possessions and material achievements as priority or as our gods, then we will continue to be surrounded by this, and we will continue to revolve in life cycles around these very things. But if we choose to step out of that and detach from these material entanglements and really re-establish that true priority in wanting to know ourselves, then we will get to that state as Sri Krishna decrees here in this verse, coming to him and him alone. In this verse 24, he says to Arjuna, Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manhyante mama buddhayah param bhavamajananto mamavayam anuttamam. Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manhyante mama buddhayah param bhavamajananto mamavayam anuttamam. Not knowing my supreme nature, unsurpassable and undecaying, the ignorance believe me, who am the supreme spirit beyond the reach of the mind and the senses, the embodiment of truth, knowledge and bliss, to have assumed a finite form through birth as an ordinary human being. The manifest really is that which is available for perception by the sense organs, or feelings of the mind, or understanding of the intellect, whereas the unmanifest is that which is unavailable for any of the instruments of cognition, feeling, or understanding. Those who lack discrimination and the capacity to perceive the subtle truth that shines through the vast disturbances of the endless plurality, they fail to realize the immutable and the peerless self. The self is unmanifest. Sri Krishna, however, represents the spirit of that self personified. This is what gives him or places him on that position. He is such an elevated one. Sampurna avatar, we say in our tradition. He is that full incarnation of this spirit walking amongst us all in the guise of a human. We get caught up in the complete physicality, however, and deem that the object of perception to be the truth. But he is far beyond that. This is why he says, beyond the reach of the mind and senses. The mind and senses is what allows us to perceive. It is what allows us to see and understand manifest. But he is far beyond that. Inasmuch as we see him in this human guise, with this human garb, he isn't limited to that. And this is where many become caught up in that confusion. For example, this entire debate raging around murtis, the murti really is a convenience which we spoke of in a previous session for gaining this true concentration, for building initial momentum to delve inwardly to discover the oneness with oneself and what that murti truly represents. Clear insight is given here in this verse to the futility of mistaking the physicality only for that true representation. Yes, it is part, but it isn't the be it and end all. It is like looking at the bottle of medicine and believing the bottle to be the medication and not the contents. When you look on the outside, we see one thing, but it is far beyond that. Sri Krishna here attempts to establish this point clearly for us in seeing that he is far beyond perception. But in order to simplify things for us in knowing the limitation of the human mind, he has taken this form. to help us perceive, to understand, and relate to Him in a form which the mind can understand, which we as humans can relate to. But it is not for us to be locked in that state, but go beyond that. Go beyond that. With this here, friends, it brings today's session to an end. Thank you so much for joining. Continue to spread the teachings of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Continue to read and practice Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Let us help to bring about that much needed transformation. Thank you again. Jai Shri Ram.